On this, more is better. Not always. There are some fine muscles that take very lightweight but a certain articulation of movement that can sculpt the body. So, you know, so many lose sight that this is a science. So, anyway, I got 25s. One of the basic seated exercises are shoulder presses.
Welcome to an upload of Steel Talk and Iron Responses.
Peace and Black Power, folks. As promised, I wanted to devote a series of exercises that can be done if you're either choosing to exercise from a seated position or if you're a person that happens to be in a wheelchair that wants to have an upper body exercise routine. These are some of the things. Now, in hindsight, I shouldn't have grabbed 25 pounds because I wouldn't expect you to be starting with that, but it fit for what some of the other things I'm going to do later. So I'm using 25, but I would not suggest a pound, depending upon your level of condition. 5. Don't start this aggressively. Learn the form. Look at what I'm doing, how it's being done. So as you choose a light enough weight to help you learn it, then you can progress upward and start, if necessary. Because again, heavy weight is not needed for everything. You know, some of the work, sometimes on this, more is better. Not always. There are some fine muscles that take very lightweight but a certain articulation of movement that can sculpt the body. So, you know, so many lose sight that this is a science. So, anyway, I got 25s. One of the basic seated exercises are shoulder presses. And those can be done, and you know what, even without weights, you can have 2 cans of soup that are comparable weight. And just have them and just start going straight up, 1, and then down. You want to come to at least the ears or slightly below. So it's a smooth, controlled motion. And this is one of the best upper body, top of the shoulder, deltoid dumbbell presses. One of the other really good exercise. Matter of fact, most of what we're going to do is going to be for the deltoid, and then there's a secondary. I'm going to give you a basic tricep that can be done. Now, the deltoid, the outer deltoid, one of the best ways to hit it is with the lateral raise. It's keeping your arm in an L-shaped position, and the visual I like to give is like someone that's holding 2 pitchers of water, and 2 pitchers of water, right? And if I want to pour them both out at the same time, dumping them out, and then return the pitcher back to starting position. 2 pitchers of water, pour them both out, and then bring the pitcher right back down. That movement, if you're trying to add more shape and definition to your deltoids, you got to have lateral dumbbell raises as part of your program. And again, I wouldn't suggest 25 pounds, but this is what I got to work with. And from the seated position. Now, since you're seated, you might have to have a slightly higher than 90 degree angle. So even if it's slightly more bent, to keep the weight from either hitting the chair or hitting your legs if you're seated on the bench. And it's simply 1, 2, 3, smooth and controlled, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lateral dumbbell raises for that deltoid head. So we did the presses, we did the lateral raises. I'm going to give an exercise for the trapezius. This is a pretty underutilized muscle for many respects. And if you look at sports, especially, you know, football, which I'm boycotting, I ain't watching no games, and I hope you all not either, but I'm going to use the example of, if you look at linemen, if you look at some of these guys, traps look like it starts at their ear and go, you know, it's just very, very highly developed. Now, why? Why they got to have traps that look like steel beams? Because these are 300, 360-pound guys running up against other 300, 360-pound guys. And these, just the upper body, especially the head, unfortunately, you're hearing the news about the concussion. So a lot more is going to come out about that. But all of this has to take the brunt of that impact. And again, looking at your trapezius, it's the main muscle that supports the neck. The neck supports the head. So all this stuff. very important. Now, you ain't got to be a lineman. I mean, you carry a book bag, a briefcase. When you go back and forth to the store, you're carrying bags for any length of time. The trapezius is a muscle you're going to need developed. When atrophy takes place, a lot of times, you know, that's where you're at a computer for an hour and a half and you're rubbing on your neck because it's fatigue. The muscle, it's a breakdown. They're not able to hold you up because they haven't been conditioned. So it's an important muscle. And sometimes there's some theories that tension headaches work from that. The fatigue and that tension triggers many folks who have headaches. So good muscle to build. And a simple muscle. Look at a shrug. I think a shrug is probably the shortest range of motion of any exercise I know. And a shrug is simply having weights at either side, lifting up as high as you can, and then bringing them down as low as you can. Up as high as you can, bringing them down as low. Now, interesting enough, a lot of people get the high, but then I see people go maybe 80% down because they're so, you know, worried about getting up. For a trapezius to be developed, you want a full range. You go up high, but now watch how low I drop it. I take it all the way down until it can't go any further. So the weight is fully pulling on my trapezius. Repeat another rep. I go all the way up, get to contraction up top, and then let it drop all the way down. So if you're doing them like this, up, 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 I mean, that's one way. I don't want to say that that's wrong, but if you're doing it without understanding that you also have to incorporate full range trapezius work, then you're harming yourself more than you're benefiting yourself. So to recap again, all done seated. We started with the dumbbell presses. After dumbbell presses, we went right to the lateral raises. The visual was 2 pitchers of water, dumping them out, returning them back. So those two were the critical ones for the deltoids. We went right from there to the trapezius. Why is it important? Supports the neck and the head. When it becomes atrophied, it no longer is able to give you the necessary support. And that leads to fatigue and tension that many think triggers different kinds of headaches. The one that is the most neglected, the trapezius. So again, right from here, lifting all the way up. And the main thing, full range, all the way down. Let the weight pull you. You don't got to start heavy, but start enough so if you were carrying a heavy or decently weighted shopping bag. So down and up, down and up. Another good sense of finishing up the seated stuff, curls, you can't go wrong. They're somewhat difficult to do in a chair. I don't want to give the impression that it can be done easily in a chair, because if you're in a chair, you might have to come out too wide for them to really be effective. And I don't want anyone to be put in a position where they're harming themselves. So this may not be able to be done in a chair, but if you can get to a bench, or even at the edge of a chair, or with assistance, someone can help you get to the edge of the chair, and you have the freedom of movement with your arms, then you can have a series of exercises. One is a hammer curl, and that is simply 1, 2, 3. I do most of my dumbbell work alternating. Helps me save time, and also I like rhythm. I like rhythmatic exercises. 7, 8, 10, 13, 14, 18, 20. Now those are hammer curls. Excellent bicep exercise. And there's exercises, some exercise grouped together, bicep and tricep, bicep and tricep. Whenever I've done a bicep exercise, I usually immediately follow it as a superset, meaning one right after the other, ideally without rest. But since I got to run my mouth for the camera, I got to take a few seconds. I want to explain what I'm getting ready to do. And I'm going to have you come on this side now, let's go. I'm going to do the right arm. A good overhead tricep extension. You want your bicep right next to your ear, and you want the weight to come down slow. But throughout the whole movement, you want that bicep right next to the ear. And what this does, this helps you isolate that tricep muscle. The error most folks make when doing this is they let the bicep leave the air, and they're still pushing up. There's still some tricep in there, but this becomes more of a shoulder exercise. Or you split the effort between the shoulder and the tricep, and you're not trying to do that. To exercise effectively, learning how to isolate. You got to isolate the muscle you're targeting. And that would be overhead tricep extension. Overhead tricep extension. The brother or the sister exercise to the hammer is the standard. I really should have did the standard first, because this is the customary. This is the first curl most folks work with, and it was usually with a bar. So I started with hammers. Hammers elongate the bicep. Look at the hand position and look what happens to the bicep. This is elongated. Now when you turn, you see how the peak is developed? So when you're working here, you're working the peak. When you shift it to a hammer, you're working more of the base of the bicep. What I found is working them both together, alternating, is an excellent way to stimulate and recruit new muscle fiber. And it's helped me, become very, very noted in these professions for the kind of work that I've been able to do with arms, as well as other parts of the body. But as a trainer, there are standout things that you just become known for. That and weight loss. I've helped people lose hundreds of pounds. I've trained over 20 people for the New York Marathon. You'll know I've worked with NBA players. I've worked with Rod Strickland, NFL. Well, I'm not even mentioning the NFL, but I have worked with some of them players. Matter of fact, I need to get some. I don't know who. I'm make sure they all doing what they supposed to. So I'll make mental notes itself. Check with some of those brothers. So okay, now the standard one is similar motion. The only difference instead of hammer is your here, but it's a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, all seated. 9, 10, 12, 13, 16, 17, 19, 20. Again, biceps. So you work the peak, you work the base. I'm gonna do the other arm for the tricep. Now, all y'all can tell me what I need to do it right. The bicep needs to be where? Next to the ear. And I go through a full range of motion from, actually it's not totally full, I go about 95% of the way. You never want to lock the muscle up top, 95% and then back down. 95% in most things, even with the push-ups I should have mentioned. Locking out fully is not advisable. Repeatedly putting that tension on the elbow stimulates very negative conditions. And then bring it down. Overhead tricep extension. Overhead tricep extension. Now, is that the full brunt? We did buys, hammers, we did laterals, we did presses, we did shrugs. The last one for a person who wants to isolate. I know sometimes guys will ask me about forearm, and I've never done an exercise specifically for my forearms. I've always used my forearms as part of the curl, and that was enough to get them both in. But I know that there are guys who do a separate isolation, either right from the wrist, letting it drop, coming all the way up, letting it drop, coming all the way up, or some will hold it 1, 2, 3, 4 in a concentrated isometric, keeping that contraction and then resting 5 seconds and then up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, that can be done on both sides. So that would complete. As I said, I wanted to devote a show to folks who think, hey, I'm in a chair, what can I do? Okay, I can't be athletic. Yes, you can. All those things can be done. If you don't have weights, 2 cans of soup, 2 evenly well grippable grippable items of 1 pound or 2. You got that right in your house right now, I guarantee you. Get yourself moving, get yourself active. Being in a chair doesn't even slow down life if you don't let it. So this is your brother Herman Smalls. I hope these pointers were of benefit. Continue to support us. Hip hop is real. We are trying to bring you this kind of stuff. Here Life Productions. We need your subscription. We out. Peace and Black Power, people. I'm on the ground for a reason. Getting ready to hit the abs, the abdominals. Oh my goodness. It's the area both men and women struggle the most with, especially, as our years progress.